you again, Regional Director Terrell. We really appreciate, or sorry, Tyson. We really appreciate your presence here today. Now we have the honor of hearing from Mayor John Park. Many of you have heard he has made history as the first Asian American ever elected as mayor in the state of Georgia and was just recently sworn in earlier this week. And so we are just so thrilled and privileged to have him with us here today. Mr. Mayor, the floor is yours.
Thank you for having me here. Thank you for inviting me. It's my second day on the job, so I'm still doing well. One thing that a lot of people don't know, I'm sure many of you do know, is that being mayor is actually a part-time job. So I actually have a full-time job. I'm a contractor, a consultant. I write software, do consulting, and for nationally notifiable diseases for the CDC and public health agencies. So just like local governments are boots on the ground, I'm boots on the ground as working on work on the COVID response and working on disease surveillance for the CDC and the federal government. One word that I would like to point out that I've heard before and that I would like to continue to point out is the word potential. Things that happen, even basic things like Mercedes-Benz Stadium, they don't just happen by accidents. Things happen because people are very intentional about what they do and how they do it. When I started my career, I was actually in IT consulting. They send kids straight out of college to Chicago for 8 weeks and teach them how to map other people's business processes and then send them off to Fortune 500 companies. But something transformative happened that became an opportunity. As you recall, after the September 11th attacks, we had a bioterrorism event with the anthrax scare. And the federal government at the time ramped up like they knew how to. They brought in basically military contractors to build applications, and I was fortunate to be on that project for the National Electronic Disease Surveillance Program just over 20 years ago. Can you believe it? It's been happening this long. And we've had pandemic responses since then. But one thing that I've noticed over my years in working for these engagements with public health and surveillance is that the intentional nature of the federal government to not just bring in these giant Northrop Grummans and Lockheeds and General Dynamics, but really be intentional about involving small businesses. So when I first started in consulting, I was at Computer Sciences, then Northrop Grumman, went back to Northrop Grumman, and then I said, you know what, this is inefficient, so I went to a startup. And I went to a startup working with customer service software, of all things. But then an opportunity came back later when the CDC and other federal agencies started doing collaborative agreements. And when they started doing collaborative agreements, they brought in a lot of smaller companies and small businesses. And a lot of them are minority and women owned. And they have been instrumental in the response to public health crises throughout the United States. During COVID, as you can imagine, I didn't have many days off, but it was the small businesses that mobilized and that activated, and when they said, okay, we need to report all the electronic lab results for COVID from every lab in every state, and we sent all that to the HHS. And we said, when do you need it? And they said, yesterday. We got that thing up and running in 2 months. And starting in April and starting in July, every jurisdiction and every laboratory was sending COVID electronic lab result data to the HHS. And that happened because of the intentional nature and because of the vision of the administration previously and the Biden administration to focus on getting the right people to the right job. And I applaud the administration for doing that. And one thing I'd also like to say is local is where the action is. I didn't really get involved in politics until 2014. We became a city in 2010. I got involved in politics in 2014. And I heard the word shovel-ready projects. It's like, I was like, what does that mean? I don't even know what that means. I was just a Joe Schmo on the street. But once I became elected, once I saw the fact that we have hundreds of millions of dollars of projects in Brookhaven that we need to get done, but we only have a budget of about $35 million, that money's got to come from somewhere. That's where the shovel-ready projects are. And there's projects like the Peachtree Creek Greenway, which is a transformative environment adjacent to, guess what, Beaver Highway, the international corridor, where Koreans, Chinese, Vietnamese, Mexican, Hispanic, Laotian, all the nations come together. And by the way, I eat about 5 meals there a week. And you can get 5 different types of pho. You can get Korean barbecue. You can get dim sum. It's an amazing place. I would encourage all of you to, if you haven't done so already, check out Beaver Highway and check out the plethora of culinary opportunities there. So a little plug for Brookehaven and also our neighbors in Chambly and Norwell. So I would like to take this opportunity to also invite you. And I want to come back to the word intentional. Brookhaven has been very intentional about 2 things, about connectivity and inclusiveness. Our goal with federal help is to connect the Peachtree Creek Greenway to the Atlanta Beltline, to connect us to the rest, to be a conduit for connectivity for multimodal travel from Atlanta to Brookhaven, through Chambly, to Dorville, unincorporated Cap, all the way to Gwinnett County. And that is a vision that is shared by Brookhaven and our neighbors, but hopefully also the federal government. So with that, I would like to invite all of you. We are having a development summit on January 17th at Hyatt Villa Christina, where we're inviting the developer community and anyone that wants to be involved in advancing and preserving the cultural heritage of Buford Highway while developing it and bringing economic opportunities for all. So this being a summit of opportunities, for all you young people out here, I would just like to say three little things that I've learned in finding opportunities and becoming there and engaging and being boots on the ground. Number 1, just be aware, just look around. There's so many opportunities out there, so there's so many resources out there. And if you're here, you're already on the right path. If you're young and you're here, you're already on the right path to find that. Be ready. Everybody remember Linsanity a few years ago when Jeremy Lin, 3rd string, guy didn't even recognize him, wouldn't let him in the stadium because they didn't know who he was. He went on to become a superstar because he was ready. He was ready to go, and as soon as the opportunity hit, he was ready to go. You don't know, particularly in politics, you don't know when there will be opportunities. I saw an opportunity to be mayor. It's like, well, I'm ready. Let's run for mayor. And then be flexible and partner. That is the most important thing. I don't know how many times we've had our small business. I work for Nhpi Consulting, a small firm of about 40 to 50 employees. And how many times we've bidded for contracts, we've lost contracts, or we're always partnering, we're always looking for opportunity. Be flexible and be ready to partner. So those are the things that for anyone out there that is interested in hearing about it, the steps that I've seen. And so thank you very much for being here, and say hey, 받으세요. Happy New Year.